Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about tech leads. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Hi Frederick, I have subscribed to your channel. If possible, do you mind covering the following topic? What if your tech lead is a junior engineer, in essence an engineer with 12 years of experience, but the 12 years are actually 1 year of experience? Okay, so first things first, the thing that is going to determine how this goes for you most of the time is if the developer in question is meeting expectations or not. Because something that I I feel like I should say is that being a tech lead doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the most senior person on the team. You don't necessarily have to have a lot of years of experience to be a tech lead. You can make a junior level software developer a tech lead because the role of a tech lead, depending on what the company wants you to do, might be very, very easy. It can be also very difficult. Like it really comes down to what the specific things are, what's part of the daily job for this individual. And I've been in teams, guys, where you have software developers who have like 20 years of experience, something, but they're not really interested in the leadership part. And then you have some other developer who has like maybe 4 years or 1 year or something like that, who really wants to do facilitation and meetings and things like that because they're sort of inclined towards that. So just make that super clear in your mind. Like, tech lead does not equal most senior person on the team. It ideally, I mean, if you ask me at the very least, that would be great if that would be the case, but it's not necessarily the case. So the situation that you are describing, though, that sort of I'm deriving here, is that it's not so much a problem for you that it's the tech lead, maybe. It's a question of that you feel like, if I'm reading your question correctly, that this person claims to have 12 years of experience, but based on what you are saying, it's actually 1 year of experience. So either they lied and told a story here, or it is most likely what I suspect. You perceive them to have far lower skill than what they claim to have. So what is that you have no idea how common that is, guys. Like, that is probably the most common complaint that engineers have about each other. That's why we all stab each other in the back over, like, oh, this person is not good at the job, or this person is not good at the job, or he's overpaid, he's underpaid, or she is, just she doesn't really know what she's doing, etc. Like, everybody has a story like that in every single company. I have never spoken to a software developer who didn't have at least one or two things to say about somebody else and their performance. And so what it usually comes down to in situations like this, in my experience at the very least, is that you can highlight this. You can mention this to your manager. And what a lot of software developers don't realize is that just because other people may not be telling you that they are unhappy with somebody's performance, that doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't told your manager about it. Now, the tricky part here is that when you tell your manager that this poor person is underperforming or things like that, you're basically putting the responsibility of the next course of action onto that person, and you have really no other choice here because you don't have the authority to do anything yourself. You can't force this person to be more productive. You can't give them an action plan or anything like that. You can just communicate that you feel that there's a mismatch between what this person is supposed to be doing and what they're actually producing. I do the same. I mean, at this point, it's basically my job to some degree to be able to do this, right? And it's just based on my ideas and so forth. And so what you do in that situation is that you talk to your manager and you present like a few examples of where you feel like this is not really working out and so forth. And what the manager will do in this situation is that they will, depending now on the manager, if we just assume competent, intended manager here who really takes you seriously, what they will do is that they will try to evaluate it. They're going to talk to the other people in your team or stakeholders. So like, they're going to try to get a 360 or like they're going to try to get some feedback from more people than just you. That's what they're going to go on, usually. And depending now on what people say about this person, if they resonate with or sort of repeat the sort of same rhetoric that you have been applying and so forth, there are going to be some consequences, or like they are going to try to take some action. How far that goes, it really much depends. On average, I see that depending on the manager, the less immature ones make very radical things happen very quickly, but usually on average it's going to be a bit of a process. It's not like they're going to be gone like that just because of people finding out that they're really not meeting expectations. You're looking at a time period of at least a few months, maybe even longer. Things don't move that quickly usually when it comes to these sort of situations, in my experience. So the person, you will probably not hear anything. Like you will tell people about this, and unless you bring it up again, you're probably never going to hear anything about it again. But what usually happens behind closed doors is that the manager will go and have a private conversation with this individual, and will give them, like, make them aware of that there are concerns related to their performance, things like that, try to hear their side of it. And depending on if this repeats, if the feedback continues and so forth, they're going to start making an action plan. That's usually the first stop. They're going to tell them that we want to see an improvement. We're going to try to get you on board here and get you up to the level that we want you to be and so forth. If this is a repeating pattern though over usually an extended period of time, like a few months, a year, it's hard to say exactly, then it might end in termination. But that means that the complaints have to keep coming, and not just from you. It has to come from more people than just you. And that, as I said, that's usually how it works. So even if you know that this person basically doesn't know anything, it really doesn't matter, because it's the manager who has to be convinced, not you. And then the other thing that can happen is that they don't agree, it's not resonating. In other words, people feel like, this person performs, they won't hear you out, the manager, or they won't do a real 360, or to go and take a holistic look at the thing and so forth. Or maybe it's just you and the other developers, they don't really care, or they don't have a problem and so forth and so forth. And that is classic one where you have maybe one person is really engaged and really enthusiastic or very highly talented in a team of low performers. Then then they are the outlier. So even if you know that you could do better, or so forth and so forth, again, it doesn't matter, because it's about the team, the whole structure of the thing that usually dictates how these things are going to go. And if your manager doesn't agree with sort of your viewpoint, and that this person is quote unquote that in their opinion they're meeting expectations, even if you know that this is way below level of someone with their experience, what they should be able to do, doesn't matter. And this is the toughest pill to swallow for a lot of software developers. That manager and that company, they are free to take as much of their money as they have and pay anybody to do any type of working within in their organization, and have them absolutely suck at it. It is their right, more or less. They are right to hire. You don't have a say in who's getting hired, because you're not the manager. So if that person wants to just throw away money on a person that basically can barely do anything, that's their call. If they want to do that, let them. You and me, we might feel that's a lot of wasted money, but there's a lot of that going around, guys. If you just think about it, do you think that everybody who's paying for a service or so forth is always getting the best deal, or so forth and so forth? That is part of the open market. You're paying someone to do something, and if you don't know that there's a cheaper way of doing it, or people who are 100 times better at it, then you're going to overpay for subpar work. Happens all the time. You're in exactly the same situation. It's just that you're very up close and personal with the outcomes. And that brings us to the only thing that you can do, and that is to ask yourself, are you being treated fairly? Do you feel like you're being compensated and being treated the way you want, and so forth and so forth? Because even if they're paying this other person to do something that they can't really do, tragically, if they want to, even if you have given them the best advice that you can, then they're free to do so. It's really none of your business. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you have someone who's underperforming, if you have like one of these software developers who are like supposed to have many years of experience but they can barely perform, the best thing for you is to try to communicate your concerns and highlight the mismatch with your manager. And then, as I said, your manager is going to take over that process for you. The best thing is if you can make sure that other people in the team and so forth sort of communicate it, because usually most managers won't take action if just one person complains. It has to be a majority. Like they have to have a sense of that more than just you have an issue with this, and more people can sort of testify to the thing. And then usually you're in for a bit of wait. It usually isn't like a quick process to get rid of someone if that is what your intention is here or so forth. Usually they get like a few chances to try to fix things and so forth, and it can be a little bit of a delay there, but usually it ends with people. I've never seen like if the mismatch is this gigantic, then there's almost they will get fired basically, because it's basically impossible to bridge that gap in that amount of time. And some people are not even interested. Like you have developers who just kind of go, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with this, and then they go work somewhere else and just repeat it, because as I said, you can't quality control the whole planet. So that person is probably going to go and work somewhere else, even though you and I may know that they're probably again going to get paid for to do something that they're not really good at doing. And that's the truth of it. If even if they stay here and your manager says no, we're fine with their performance and it's all good and so forth, you have to take your personal responsibility here and calm yourself, do a little bit of self-reflection, and realize that yeah, it seems a little bit unfair, but honestly, if they want to waste money on this, is it really your problem? The thing that you should be concerned about more than if they're paying somebody else to do something they suck at is, are you being paid in proportion to what you expect? Are you being treated fairly? Or like, is this such a problem for you that it really bothers you? If that is the case, then you only have the employee's own, you have the only option that an employee has. Go and work somewhere else. Have a great day.